Hello everyone, my name is Master Steve and welcome to some Flight Simulator 2024. So this game has been probably one of my most anticipated games of 2024, and I have always planned on doing a lot of content with this game since I first saw it was announced. The idea of the career mode just really intrigued me, and I have been counting the days till this thing finally released, and after a very long time in the wait queue, I finally got in. I ran a few missions, and so far the game is pretty good, but there are a few bugs, like sometimes some of the prompts for the missions don't load in like they should. Like sometimes you don't have the option to like signal the runway or something like that. Like it's just there's some things that are a little buggy, but overall the game is super fun. I like that you can choose whatever airport you want. All the missions are adaptable for every single area. Like the game itself is super fun, and I think the career mode fixes a lot of the issues I have with Flight Simulator 2020. I mean, we all know that in 2020 you couldn't really do anything except just go from point A to point B. There wasn't a career mode, and it was just really more of a just go explore the world type of thing. But this one's gonna keep me occupied for a very long time. I need to get all the way up to level 90 and unlock all those late game missions. Like I am super excited to begin this journey in this game. And in this episode of Flight Simulator in this channel, I'm going to kind of be going over just some of the basics of the game, kind of laying out just kind of stuff you can do, and just overall kind of what my experience was. So when you first start this game, you got to do the tutorial and stuff. The tutorial is actually pretty good, and I do like the fact that you can choose whatever airport you want as long as it's a small one. I mean, you can't start off from like a major hub like, Denver, Salt Lake City or something like that. You have to start off from a small airport, and that's totally fine. And like I said, the tutorial is pretty well thought out. It's pretty good. I mean, it helps guide you through stuff pretty clearly. It's still a challenge. I mean, the game itself seems to be pretty easy to pick up. I've been having a lot of fun with it. No issues or anything. It's not too technical. But like all of the small details you have to like practice to memorize, that's going to keep me busy for a long time, and it just makes the game so much more enjoyable. Now, after the tutorial, it'll explain to you how you have to get all these different certification stuff to kind of progress throughout the game, and it have to be like different levels to unlock different certification stuff. And it's just there's a lot of progression to do, and it's all super fun. So the first certification you have to do is the one I'm doing in the background right now, and that is the commercial pilot's license. And the mission itself, this is one that it's not one that they will let you choose any airport you want. It's already preset. So basically, you just kind of take off in the LA area, and you're landing at the Burbank Airport. And I mean, the mission itself took me about 10 minutes or so ish. I mean, it's a pretty short one. You really are just you're taking off, you're going, I believe it's just 2 miles or whatever, then just landing again, like super easy, nothing to it. And I mean, it just grades you on how well you take off, how smooth your flight was, how well you held your altitude, stuff like that. And I mean, all of it sounds very like basic, like flying a straight line, go land, whatever. But like, I mean, this game will mark you down for like the slightest technicality, and there's still so many more details to learn. And if you're a perfectionist like me that really wants to get that perfect, S grade on the report that it shows at the end of each mission, you really got to work at this, and it's going to take a lot of time to get better at this game. So I'm playing on the Xbox Series X, and I must say, so far it's a pretty smooth experience. I know that they've already acknowledged there's an issue for everyone with wait times. Sometimes wait times will get stuck, and it'll be kind of a pretty long time to get into some stuff, but I'm sure they'll patch that out eventually. And just like some of the other bugs I mentioned before, like sometimes you can't like signal, like they're big. This one has a little bit more of the communication you gotta do. If you're playing on the Xbox Series X, you have to always click on the left of the D-pad to talk back and forth with the tower. And sometimes that shows up, but I've noticed that if you like skip like the takeoff or whatever, or like skip to like where it's the flight sim, I believe is what they call it in this game, where you're like just taking the tourist around the area. If you skip, sometimes the next prompt for the rest of the mission won't show up, or it won't show you like your whatever the traffic pattern is to land at the next airport. Like some stuff just cuts off randomly. Like I said, I'm sure that they will patch that out here within the next few days, and everything should be up smoothly. But I mean, it does not make the game unplayable by any means. It's all super fun and just very well put together. So as you can see here, this is like my landing coming into Burbank, and I mean, there's it's so simple. It's a very simple concept. I mean, you truly are just using, I don't know, there's a few buttons on your controller, but you really do have to focus, and it's just super, super fun. And this part was super easy. So with the commercial pilot's license, it's kind of like the first essential step to like, having fun with this game and like, creating your own journey out of it. Because with that license, you're able to get credits from doing missions, and the first missions you get are literally all of them are just taking people out for a tour. And so they're not like set. I mean, whatever area you choose to operate out of, like for example, I chose what did I choose? I chose Carson City. I want to start in Reno just because I like flying around Lake Tahoe. I think it's super pretty. I did that a lot in the last flight simulator, and I just kind of chose that area because I'm familiar with it and I grew up there. And I just think it's super cool to kind of fly around where you grew up and just take a look at your surroundings. It's a really fun time, and I mean I like that all the missions are tailored to that area. So like all the dialogue that you hear like when you're playing the game, I mean it's all AI generated. Some of it I have to admit is a little bit, I don't know, a little too robotic. Like it's kind of weird. Like some of them sound like none of it's ever going to sound like genuinely excited. Your passengers are going to sound just very monotone. I mean, quite literally, just like, yeah, I really enjoyed this, and you're like, okay, like I see that they're trying to add a little bit of atmosphere to have like dialogue going between the passengers, and I believe it's like I don't know whatever your airline manager person is. I forget what they call them. But there's some dialogue that goes on, but all of it sounds just very it you literally just AI generated. Like it's weird, but it's tolerable, and it does add a nice little element to the game. But it gets old kind of quick because they all kind of say the same things and just kind of changes out like what county you're in or whatever you're gonna go see. Like it's all subbed in. A lot of them just complain that it's like a roller coaster or whatever. So like it's just it's fine. It adds an extra element to it, but not my favorite thing. But like I said, definitely does kind of make the game better a little bit. But the big point I want to make is that the missions itself are all around the area. I mean, I forget what the mileage radius around your whatever your headquarters or home base is you're working out of. I think it's like 75 miles ish, I believe. But you can choose any missions in that area, and like I said, you see some different scenery. They all change the dialogue for whatever area you're in, and like they're all very well put together. And I mean there is a lot to do for them. So like the one in the background is one that I was doing around Lake Tahoe, and this one is I just have to like take these two ladies out to go take a tour around Douglas County, and then just you make one circle at like a set altitude. You have to keep your speed below, I believe it's 87 knots, so we get to stay below, and then you just come back to the airport, land it, and everything goes totally fine. So like these are the missions you'll be grinding out the most. A lot of them are only like I don't know. I think they're all between about 1,200 to 1,400 credits, and you need 1,500 to get your next certification. So next video I post is going to be me doing probably I don't know. I'd say about 10 or 15 of these passenger missions, just kind of getting the feel for it. I was going to do some more today, but I mean I need to kind of take a little break from it. I mean, it's a very, very fun game, but things were a little rough on launch day. If I just take a step back and go take the dogs out for a walk, whatever, and come back, go right back sit in the wait queue, and time got a little scarce. But I did have a lot of fun with this game today, and I cannot recommend it enough. So as you see in the background, it's very, very technical, and I like that it makes you do everything. Some of the stuff in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 edition, you started on the runway most of the time when you're kind of like setting your destination, whatever. Like when you first started, you were always on the runway. This game pays a lot more attention to the taxiing and a lot more of the technical groundwork. And I really, really like that actually because it's tedious, but it has an element of fun and like authenticity to it where it really makes you feel like you are truly being a pilot. And I really, really like that. So you have to stop at all the hold points, you have to talk to the air traffic controller, and like I said, it adds this whole different element to it, and I mean it grades you on everything. So I'm not sure what I don't know what you'd call it, like whatever the posted speed limit is for like taxiing down the runway or whatever. I find on a controller it's a little hard to kind of manage your throttle just because, like, I mean, I'll hold A and my little engine will go up to, I don't know, maybe like a quarter or whatever. But your plane kind of slowly starts, inching forward, and as it gets that momentum, it's super hard to stop. And sometimes you'll see something pop at the top of the screen where it's like, your rating has gone down because too fast or whatever. Taxiing speed is too great. Or like I understand the ones that'll tell you like your speed's too great, but your flaps are down. So like stuff like that makes sense. But like I just need to figure out where in the game it'll actually show me like there's a posted speed limit for taxiing. This is what it is, and here's how you need to like set that while you're on the ground. So I'm still kind of figuring some stuff out. But like I said, overall, still a very very fun game. Now, things I did notice was like overall, like see, oh, there it is right there. Aviator performance taxiing speed goes down. Like I'm not sure exactly what the maximum is. I didn't feel like I was doing too bad here. I felt like anytime I went to like 900 knot, whatever the 900 horsepower for the engine was, I kind of felt like whenever I was around there, I wasn't moving. So it's a little, I don't know, touchy on console, but I don't have any issues with that. The game's still super super fun. I think up here you should be able to see what I'm talking about here when I said like some things just don't load in like they're supposed to. Like you'll just kind of be going like right now like the runway around me looks great, and I mean having been up at Tahoe enough times, like yeah, that's exactly what the environment looks like, super cool. But like see right up here on the right, if you look at it, it's just randomly flat and it looks like someone put some cardboard on the side. Like it's just super weird. So there's just these random patches at certain airports where it's like going, it feels authentic. I feel like I'm really doing good. And then there's just this random portion of like, it just didn't load in correctly. And I would assume that, as the game progresses and they update it, they'll kind of patch some stuff out. But so far on day one, I found about 3 or 4 airports that had this, right there, that kind of texturing issue next to the runway as a problem. But overall, it doesn't really affect the experience that much. I want to be sitting here for about, 30 seconds while they clear me for takeoff or whatever. So that's totally fine. And I do like that they literally make you go through every step of communication because, as someone that actually really, really likes aviation, I really like having to, do that, like all the attention to detail. And it's very, very well put together, and overall it just makes it a super fun experience. So the taxiing the runway and actually taking off, I mean, that's like a good solid portion of your playing time when you first start off. I mean, it takes about 8 minutes or so just to get off the runway sometimes. Like, there'll be times when you request takeoff and they'll tell you, nope, runway's busy, you gotta sit there and wait. And that like I said, that does add some good authenticity to it, but they do give the option to skip some stuff, and I will tell you guys right now that when you finish up their mission, there appears to be something at the end that it'll give you a little bonus for credits if you don't skip stuff. So you don't want to do that, but you can. It's not really that big of a deduction. But I would definitely recommend playing it all out, getting those extra credits, and just getting the full experience. And this is another example of kind of like how things didn't quite load in as like they should have. Like the initial climb thing is behind me, even though they approved me for a takeoff to the north instead of to the south. Like that didn't make too much sense to me, but that's okay. As soon as I got up, it fixed itself. So, like I said, stuff like that kind of throws me off, but overall, like I said, still a very fun experience. As you can see, the graphics actually, they look pretty good, and everything runs pretty smoothly. I didn't really have any frame rates dropping or anything on the Series X, so overall, very, very pleased. So once you get off the runway, it usually sends you, for these like first starter mission, it only sends you, I think it's like 7-ish to like 5 to 7-ish miles in one direction for the tour, and it's not that bad, honestly. And I mean, this one I did skip to the actual like flight scene tours because this was like my, I don't know, I think my 4th hour of playing this and I had stuff to go do. So, skipped ahead to the actual flight scene portion of it. This is what that looks like. And all you have to do is kind of like, fly through all these little gates up here and make sure you keep your speed correct, keep your altitude correct. And I will say that I do not recommend doing the skip. When you come out of the skip, it puts you, the few missions I did, it always put me below the gates, and I had a hard time climbing up to them. I know that, like, you can adjust some different stuff and, gradually climb up to that, but as soon as you're in this area, it starts grading you. So, like, I can't just immediately point my nose up and, like, get up into those gates immediately. I have to, like, gradually climb up there, and while I'm doing that, I'm already, like, halfway through the sightseeing thing. That bar is filling up right underneath where it says fly around Douglas County. And my guests on board are saying, like, I can't appreciate the landscape because we're too low and stuff. So it's a little frustrating, and I know that like I did a mission before this, but I didn't get any footage of it just because my Xbox was being a little stubborn, shall we say. But like if you don't skip it, you get the altitude just right every time, and your score is gonna be like a whole letter grade higher if you don't skip. And if you do skip, you're gonna have this issue of you're gonna spend about half the tour, the actual flight seeing time, lining yourself up these gates and actually getting it right. So that's something I would pay attention to if you guys are hopping into this. But overall, it's still super super fun. For some reason, I actually find it super fun to just kind of fly through these gates and like really try to make sure I'm as centered as possible. Like there's so much tedious stuff to get down that it's time consuming, it's relaxing, and yet it still remains so focused, and it's just super super addictive. So I actually really really love this. And the scenery, they've got it just right. That's, I've hiked around Lake Tahoe enough. I kind of know this area, and like it's just super super cool. So the entire time you're doing the flight seeing stuff, your passengers are going to be saying a lot of stuff, to say the least. It's kind of annoying. Most of them will be being like, "Oh, this would look so much better at sunset," or, "Oh, there's something from our childhood down here." But every single time you finish it, you'll know you're done when the flight coordinator comes over and says, "Did you guys enjoy the flight?" And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, it was great." But all of it is so monotone where you're like, "Okay, time to go back." And so this is another example right here of kind of how some stuff didn't load in like it should have. So like most of the time it will give you like the little marker over the runway where you're supposed to be headed. And in this case, I got nothing. So I acknowledged my air traffic controller, and was like, did that. And normally when you come in, you have to request for landing. And in this case, that never showed up. I don't know why. Like I said, one of those minor bugs that will probably be patched out later. So day one impressions and kind of just getting started for this game. Overall, it's actually really, really good, and I am very, very pleased with it. So the next episode, I'll be doing a lot more of the actual like missions and kind of going into like what I was doing with that, fun I was having with it, and getting that next certification done. So we'll be looking forward to that. This was kind of been just more of my initial impression of the game and just kind of what I thought about it. So really looking forward to everything I can do with this. I'm excited to get like the firefighting, the cargo delivery, the passengers. I really intend to do a lot with this just because I think flying is so cool. I've always really enjoyed it. And this game itself is really just, it's super, super fun, and I really recommend it. So if you guys have any ideas for videos, let me know down in the comment section below. I was going to try doing kind of like a tour around the world, just kind of going, airport by airport, try to make it interesting. I actually have some pretty fun ideas for this. But actually going back to the gameplay in the background, if you guys see, they're not giving me a marker for the airport. I'm just following that pink line on the compass in the upper left. And luckily I did that, and it actually, it got me straight to the runway. But I mean, it did not give me the flight pattern for the runway itself, so I didn't know where to line up from. And the landing itself was kind of bad, to say the least. I think everyone on board probably got whiplash or some sort of neck injury. Like, it was really bad, and I bounced that hard. Like, it was bad. So first mission landing was really, really bad, but I'll get better as time goes on. Hopefully I'll get good at this game and we can all enjoy it and have some fun stuff with it. So like I said, first impressions really, really good, and I actually really, really enjoyed this game. There's going to be so much more I'm doing with it. So episode 2 is going to be doing a lot more of the missions themselves, showcasing that, just a lot of the fun stuff, and be going into a little more details about this. And I would just say again, if you guys have not picked this game up yet, make sure you do, because it's super, super fun. That's all I got for you guys today. My name is Master Steve, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like, subscribe for more, and let's all have some fun flying together. I'll see you guys in the next one.
That landing. Scary stuff.
Cessna Tree 08, you were not cleared to land. Clear the runway.